Coming up next on Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable, Governor Brewer endorses Scott Smith in the GOP gubernatorial primary, and Sarah Palin decides to make an endorsement in the Arizona governor's race. Those stories and more next on the Journalists Roundtable.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Aaliyah Rao of the Arizona Republic, Mike Sunix of the Phoenix Business Journal, and Bob Christie of the Associated Press. Governor Brewer announces her endorsement in the Republican gubernatorial primary, and Aaliyah, not really a surprise, was it?
Not entirely, but it took so long that I think a lot of people thought maybe she would just stay out of it altogether.
Yeah, we were talking about that the last Friday. I mean, Scott Smith gets the endorsement, a relatively hearty endorsement there at the ballpark in Mesa.
Yeah, she says she'll do whatever it takes to help him win, campaign with him, give him money through her PAC potentially. Yeah, she's in it.
Yeah, and she's in it, but how much difference does that make?
Well, it would have helped Scott a little bit more if this could have come a month ago or 2 months ago before early ballots went out and while Scott was trying to raise money. It was expected that if she was going to endorse somebody, she's going to endorse Smith, his stance on Common Core, Medicaid, business folks like him. But she waited a long time for this to come out, and it would have helped him a while ago, especially against Ducey and Jones, who put a lot of money in the race, have a big financial advantage if she had done this earlier.
She had said that it came down to two candidates, and it sounds like it was either Smith or Ducey. Why Smith? Why not Ducey?
Well, why not Ducey is a good question. I think she was probably concerned about some of his positions on what to do with taxes, how to move the state forward, and she was much more comfortable with Smith's ability to do that. Whether this makes a huge difference at this stage in the race, they hope so. Smith certainly hopes so. He needs this bad. He needed it bad. And he brought in $50,000 in the first 24 hours after the rumor was, the announcement came out that she was going to have an event with him. So, she hasn't told us exactly why she didn't pick Ducey, but I think most everybody knew that it was down to Smith only.
And why do we know why she waited as long as she did? I mean, she made endorsements for other candidates in other races. This one took a while.
It did. She wouldn't really say. I think reporters asked her and she didn't really answer it. I know with Bidwell getting into it and kind of trying to push the business community behind Ducey, I think maybe that kind of ruffled her feathers a little bit. I know, she kept talking about everyone telling the truth when in her endorsement. I don't know if there was some frustration with kind of how everybody's portrayed her and border issues. Ducey, some of the more, Jones and Thomas have all kind of gone after her a little bit, not doing enough with the border issues.
Yeah, and they didn't have to even go after her. It's just basically tacit disapproval of, okay, here's what I'm going to do, suggests that you didn't do it.
Yeah, I think Bob's right. Smith really needed this. He was kind of dead in the water without this. It looked like he didn't have as much money. You had Bidwell and Glenn Hammer at the chamber, guy from chairman of the Greater Phoenix Leadership, all pushing for business folks to switch from Smith to Ducey. So this came at the right time. They have the same consultant. Chuck Coughlin's High Ground Group is Jan's consultant. His son, Smith's son works at High Ground. There was a lot of folks in the Smith camp really pressing her to finally come out and do this, or Smith was just kind of fade away in this.
And it was not a fait accompli. On Monday, the governor's, I talked to Andrew Wilder, who's the governor's official spokesman, and he said, she may not endorse at all. And I'm going, if she doesn't endorse this week, it's not going to happen. And then on Tuesday, she met with a group of lawmakers who have supported her through Medicaid expansion, they don't like to be called moderates, but the more business-friendly group, the Doug Colemans, the Bob Robsons, the Heather Carters, the Senator Steve Pierces, who met with her at length on Tuesday. And even Tuesday evening, I heard after that meeting, she had not committed. So it was Wednesday morning, she made up her mind, she pulled the trigger, and bam, the event was on.
But again, the timing. I mean, she endorsed Brnovich over Horn right before early ballots went out. She waited and waited to endorse Scott. Some people already got their ballots. A lot of people haven't even seen Scott Smith on TV that much compared to Jones and Ducey. So, maybe they can run some ads with her in it, with the endorsement. We'll have to see.
And as far as these lawmakers and that input on the Brewer endorsement, that apparently did have quite an impact, because it sounds like the last of many meetings, ba-boom, here comes the endorsement.
Yeah, I mean, I think people have been telling her all along that she needs to get involved. I think a lot of people have been pushing her towards Smith. But it sounds like that last meeting was kind of what pushed her over the edge. And she has promised this group that she would do everything she can to help them. Smith probably aligns a little bit more along with them as well. So maybe that was kind of her assistance.
So we've asked, how does this help Smith? How does this help or hurt the other candidates? And keeping in mind, again, this is a Republican primary, and Republican primary voters aren't necessarily the most moderate of folks.
No, that's been the challenge for Scott all along. Can he get enough independents and enough moderates to turn out in a Republican primary to beat somebody like Ducey or even far to the right Jones? And that's been the challenge. There's only a couple endorsements that probably matter in this race. Brewer's the main one. Maybe Sheriff Joe is the second one, especially for conservatives and older voters. So Smith getting this, helps him, but he's still got to convince enough moderates to turn out, I think. There's a lot of undecided voters out there that really don't know the candidates that well, that aren't engaged politically, and they're still deciding. So an endorsement from the sitting governor gets a lot of play on TV. At least they'll take a look at Smith because of this.
Right, and the TV play was real important for Smith because he doesn't have a big bank account like the other two candidates do. I mean, there was a whole line of media, was a lot of free media, was a lot of TV ads were paid for by TV news crews yesterday, essentially. The question is, can Smith get enough money now and make enough ad buys to where he gets his message out like he wants to? He's worked it hard, but I mean, you got to have TV and you got to have radio and you got to have repeat exposure to sell yourself.
And there's a new poll now. This poll was actually taken prior to the governor's endorsement, and this poll includes GOP voters and independents. You can parse out the GOP voters, and we can do that in a second here. But when you include independents in here, and a healthy percentage, like 20-some-odd% of independents, I don't think you expect to see that many people, the independent voters, go into the polls. But still, all of a sudden, Smith is like looking pretty doggone good.
Yeah, if you buy the polls, that's what it shows. I mean, there's a lot of debate about how, real these polls are, when who's paying for them, who's behind them. But yeah, I mean, the last few polls we've seen, Smith has been up there ahead of Jones.
Yeah, ahead of Jones, behind, very close. Again, when you put those independent voters, you take those independent voters out, Republicans only, and Ducey still has a relatively sizable lead.
Yeah, Ducey's led basically every poll. He's up in the near mid-20s, low 20s. A lot of people think you need 25 or more probably to win, at least, considering all the candidates that are in there. Yeah, and there's been a lot of skepticism about real polling. And it's interesting, when these pro-Ducey polls came out, there was a lot of backlash against this. And now this poll comes out and it shows Scott doing better. Mm-hmm. And wow, this is a Smith surge. And it could be happening. There's a lot of undecided voters out there. If all the moderates and all the independents are going to one camp, they're going to Smith. So it could be happening. But yeah, it's interesting to see the different reactions between these kind of questionable polls from different campaigns.
Right, and the bottom line is this is a horse race. There are three perceived front runners, Smith, Jones, and Ducey. How much the other three candidates pull away is going to affect how those three do, and I don't think anybody's got the answer until election night. We'll see the numbers come in.
Do you think that this poll, the Arizona Automobile Dealers Association, by the way, came out with this poll, Magellan Strategies that conducted it. This obviously was, again, taken prior to the governor's endorsement and kind of broke it around the same time as her. Do you think that this poll, these numbers, that momentum may have pushed her as well?
I don't know. I mean, again, everybody's got their biases with the polls. I think there was one earlier that showed Smith at second, and I think that may have been a little bit of a push to kind of say, hey, look, that was the first one we saw with him coming up.
Right.
And I can't remember who did that one. But I think that may have been a little bit of a push to get her to get involved, and it didn't work. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think the lawmakers getting involved and asking for help did more than the polls.
I think so. I think that's a legacy issue. And that's what the lawmakers were pushing her for. They said, listen, the things that you've set up are going to be at risk with another candidate. With Smith, you know what you're going to get. He's solidly aligned with your goals and with what you've put in place for the state as far as the business community is concerned, and the bringing in, setting up tax policy that is drawing business here without destroying it, coming up with some complete overhaul. I think that probably, and I don't want to speak for the governor, but it probably played a lot into it, and I know that was the pitch.
Well, the dynamic of the race was setting up where the Ducey camp with Michael Bidwell and other supporters, trying to tell folks, you need to support Ducey, or Christine Jones, who's farther to the right, is going to come in and win this thing. And they wanted to take votes away from Smith. This endorsement and these polls kind of changed that, because Smith is now at least considered back as a contender in this race, where they were trying to kind of write him off for some kind of the business sections, kind of centrist conservatives, not far right, not far in the middle.
It seemed as well that what we heard from the Bidwell camp is something similar we heard to the Arizona Republic camp when they came out with their endorsement. It's almost like he's the guy who can win. We don't want to talk in policy too much here, but he's the one to win. That seemed like the biggest factor.
That's his argument. I mean, his argument has been to everyone, I'm the leader, I'm ahead. Smith's argument and Smith's camp's argument and Jones' argument is, no, he's not. This is an open race, and make your decision based on policy. And I would argue that Jones is not that. I mean, you have to paint yourself as a conservative in Arizona. Scott Smith paints himself as a conservative.
Sure.
But I've seen Jones in several forums, and she's very thoughtful when she discusses policy, and she says, I haven't been convinced that that's the right way to go. So,
Ellie, we also had another endorsement this week. Sarah Palin decided to endorse Doug Ducey for the governor. She praised his background with Cold Stone. Apparently, Cold Stone's a favorite with the Palin family when they do family stops for ice cream. Impact for that?
I don't know. I would assume most of the people who would be influenced by Palin were probably already supporting Ducey. I guess maybe he could have pulled some of the Thomas Jones folks over a little bit, but I don't know. And then her endorsement read like Ducey wrote it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll compare and contrast. You got the Palin for Ducey, and you've got Brewer for Smith.
Well, Brewer has certainly more impact on the ground here, and Smith needed it more. I think the thing for Ducey is he's got Ted Cruz, he's got Scott Walker, he's got John Kyle, he's got Kathy Herod. So he's got kind of this, and Palin, this kind of cadre of conservatives backing him. So it's kind of a conservative establishment is getting behind him. And it shows a conservative voter that's maybe not paying attention that much. Hey, all these people vote back Ducey, maybe I should too.
And again, we're talking again about the Republican primary. This is not a general election here. We've got independents involved if they want to get involved, but a Republican, I would think Sarah Palin carries a lot of water.
Sarah Palin is relatively old news. She has been out of the picture. I would disagree with that statement.
Okay.
I don't think Sarah Palin. I think the one endorsement that matters in this race was the governor's.
Arpaio's didn't matter as much?
Arpaio matters some, like Mike said, in the Sun City voters. And he's on the air now. He's running ads for her. But I think the governor's Veritas will affect this race a lot.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it certainly helps Scott. It validates him. It maybe gives his supporters, folks that are kind of in the middle, some enthusiasm. I think they were pretty downtrodden. He got in the race late, hasn't raised the kind of money that Smith and Ducey have. I mean, Ducey and Jones have. And so I think it gives him some momentum that he didn't have there before. I think people were really, it was the sinking ship syndrome, and I think that turned things around. I do think Arpaio endorsement helps, especially when you couple it with Scott Walker and Cruz and Palin, all these other conservatives.
Republican primary.
They're behind Doug, and those folks pay attention to those
And we're
Fox.
all here talking about how Jan Brewer isn't the conservative in Arizona. It's
Well, there you go. If you talk to some Republicans and they say she's not even close, so that's who you're dealing with as far as the primary is concerned. It sounds like we're learning a little bit more who's bankrolling some of these independent expenditure ads and campaigns for Christine Jones against mostly Ducey, and it's Christine Jones's old cohort there at the GoDaddy. Huh?
It is. The GoDaddy CEO kind of got involved, and we thought it was him. They didn't have to disclose for another few weeks, and he went ahead and said, "Yes, this is us. We're getting behind Jones with our money." So
And it sounded like he was especially upset, I think, a debate over Channel 3 where Ducey described Jones as a line employee at GoDaddy. That didn't go over very well at all.
No, he sent out a statement saying that was absolutely not true. She was involved significantly in business. She, made money on it because she did well, and that she was not a line employee in any way.
And I believe she also had a statement calling Ducey a misogynist jerk.
She did. Got a little lively there.
How does that kind of stuff play?
I think this group from Parsons, which is buying a lot of better leaders for Arizona, is buying a lot of ad time, and they can go after Ducey, and we'll see if they start going after Smith. I think that's when we'll know the race has changed, is when these independent expenditure folks, if they start going after Scott, we know that he's really doing well.
Right,
so that'll be the change. The money between Jones and Ducey, could get very high. She's got a lot of her own money, so does he. They got independent expenditure groups spending on their behalf and against other folks. And so, having Bob Parsons in your corner is a big deal because he's a big money guy.
Right, and he can spend as much as he wants. I mean, he's a billionaire, so I mean, he can write checks that you and I would just couldn't imagine.
Now the blowback is he trying to buy himself a governor? He's bought a motorcycle dealership, an advertising agency, which happens to be doing the ads for his political group, a lot of real estate, and if you start putting a whole bunch of money in there, you'll see the other campaigns, some of the watchdog groups, hey, this guy's really trying to buy the race.
All that money being spent, whether it's Christine Jones' own money or the IE with Parsons involved, and yet, if you believe some of these polls, she seems to be slipping. What's going on out there?
Right. Well, it's hard to understand why she hasn't gained traction, if you believe the polls, which are, as we said, all suspect. It's hard to say. Why? I don't know. Why hasn't she gained traction? Do you have an idea?
I think she got a lot of attention with the immigration issue. And I wouldn't call her a one issue candidate by any means, but that was a big focus for her. And I get the impression that the general public is tiring of that issue a little bit. And so I wondered, and I have no basis for this, but just wondered if people are kind of getting a little bit tired of the immigration thing and kind of associate that too much with her.
Interesting, and I think the negative ads in general, if especially with Ducey and Jones, I mean, that's one thing about Smith. He hasn't been doing too much of that, at least, and now all of a sudden here he comes on the white horse saying, "I'm the positive guy. Look at me."
That's all he can do right now. I mean, he doesn't have the bankroll to do negative ads. He's got,
Can't afford to go negative.
No, he can't afford to. No, he's got to build a positive image. He's got to look. He's got to focus voters on what he's done in Mesa and say, I can bring this to the state. And look, the governor thinks I can. I've supported her in all of her endeavors over the last few years. I can do this.
Okay, we could go on forever with the governor's race, but other things have happened, including apparently John Huppenthal says he never supported Common Core standards. Never. What?
It's election season.
Where did
this is what happens.
Where is this coming from? What's going on here?
Well, I mean, this has become very clearly a superintendent's race. The Democrats have been very strongly for Common Core, Arizona's version of it. And Huppenthal's Republican opponent has been very strongly against it. And like you said, to win in the Republican primary, you've got to be seen as a conservative. And I think he's had to sort of take some kind of a stance. He's being very nuanced with it. He's saying, yes, I did support some of it, but we changed it in Arizona. So what we have in Arizona isn't Common Core, and I kind of support that. But it's campaigning.
But what happened to the barbarians at the gate and all that?
This is far different statement. I mean, he said unequivocally, I have never supported Common Core. 6 weeks ago, when he had the big press conference where he cried and apologized for the blog post, he spent a good 3 minutes, and I reviewed my transcripts of it today, saying how he was the only elected official in the United States who had stood up to the opponents of Common Core. All the rest folded like a wet paper bag, he said. And I have been out there telling people that these are good standards, they're important for Arizona.
And is this, you talk about find out who's being campaigned, the ads are targeting, and you'll know who's leading the race. Does this suggest that he thinks he's in trouble in this campaign?
Yeah, I think so. I think the blog posts, and we talked about immigration, people getting tired of it. All the Republicans are pretty much the same on immigration. No amnesty, secure the border, blah, blah, blah. I think everybody tunes that out. Common Core, there's a difference there between Scott Smith and his opponents and Huppenthal and Douglas. And if your Common Core is really kind of resonating a little bit with that Republican base, you see folks on Fox News, Glenn Beck's talking about it. They don't like it at all. And I think he's endangered both because of the Falcon 9 blog post and because he's out of touch with kind of that right-wing primary voter.
Does it put him back in touch, though, when he's so much on this side and now all of a sudden he's come over here?
He's trying to get through the election. What I suspect probably happened is that he got some internal polling numbers, or his consultant sat him down and said, listen, you've hurt yourself badly with the blog post. You can't overcome two negatives. You can't overcome the anti-Common Core folks and the blog posts, because some of those blog post people are going to go to the Common Core because they don't like you. So you've got to get some of the Common Core people back.
And you saw the Common Core backers, some of the business folks, really come down on Huppenthal after those blog posts, withdrawing support. The state chamber was going to give him an award and decided not to. So he's right. He lost the moderate support, and now he's got to try to recapture some of the conservatives.
All right, welcome to the Barbarian Club, I guess. All right, before we go, Senator Chester Crandall dies from an accident there in northern Arizona, 68, thrown from. Talk about Senator Crandall and his legacy there at the Capitol.
Senator Crandall, he was somebody that everybody liked. I mean, he had his issues, whether you agreed or disagreed, everybody liked him. He used to tell jokes in the middle of session, and he was just kind of the fun guy. He'd always tell you what he thought. He wouldn't parse words. He didn't, play politics. He always had a smile. He always wanted to have a conversation.
Education and states' rights toward the end.
Very strong states' rights supporter. It's a federalism issue. He has pushed a lot of, he had a failed bill this year which would have required federal agents to register with the local sheriff before they could do anything in a county and then turn over any seizure to them. It was finally ruled unconstitutional in the Rules Committee, which is the way to kill things that you can't. But Chester was straight up. And he was willing to talk to reporters and be honest with them, and just a truly great guy. I'm going to miss being able to talk to him.
All right, died at the age of 68. All right, good to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Monday on Arizona Horizon, find out how independent voters could affect Republican primary results, and we'll hear about an encouraging report regarding Arizona and solar power use. That's Monday on Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, an ASU researcher develops a new treatment for Ebola virus. Wednesday, Google selects an Arizona company as a case study on e-commerce. Thursday, how European online privacy rights could affect American consumers. And Friday, it's another edition of the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.